I'm Jack Bradley in for Steve Lance, and we have some breaking news. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his Syrian counterpart have agreed to a ceasefire deal with the support of the U.S. According to U.S. envoy Tom Barrack, the agreement was backed by Turkey, Jordan, and other neighboring countries. Barrack also urges different Arab tribes in Syria to put down their weapons. And President Trump today following through on his threat to sue the media mogul Rupert Murdoch. This after Murdoch's Wall Street Journal published a story about a letter Trump allegedly sent to Jeffery Epstein, which Trump calls fake. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has the update.
According to court records, President Trump on Friday has officially filed a libel lawsuit against Rupert Murdoch, the publisher of the Wall Street Journal, Dow Jones, as well as the two Wall Street Journal reporters who wrote a story on Thursday that got published that night, alleging that President Trump, back in 2003, has sent Jeffrey Epstein what they called a, quote, body letter. Trump has strongly denied this report, calling it fake, and also adding that, quote, I never wrote a picture in my life. It's not my language. It's not my words. He also says that he told Murdoch that it was a scam and should not be published, and if it does get published, he will sue. And now President Trump is following through on his words to sue, as well as following through on his promise before to make public more Epstein files. On Friday, the Justice Department has asked a judge officially to release the grand jury testimony from the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. And while it's unclear how long that process will exactly take for more files to become public, the White House this week is emphasizing the administration's approach to transparency compared with the last administration's. Watch.
The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people.
And now on this letter story, the White House is emphasizing that a Wall Street Journal has not published, and actually admits that it does not even have the actual letter that they based their entire story on. And even Elon Musk, who reignited this whole controversy last month, is now arguing that, quote, the letter sounds bogus. In other news, President Trump on Friday signed into law the Genius Act, which establishes the first regulations for the market of stablecoin, a cryptocurrency that's pegged to hard assets like the U.S. dollar.
This revolution has the potential to supercharge American economic growth and empower billions of people to save and transfer in U.S. dollars. It's really all backed by the dollars.
Meanwhile, critics say the legislation did not contain enough protections for consumers and that the new regulatory framework gives the government too much power over the crypto industry. Meanwhile, President Trump making clear that there will never be a central bank-issued digital currency. Back to you.
Turning to some news in foreign policy, 10 Americans who were detained in Venezuela have been freed in a major prisoner swap. In exchange, El Salvador is sending home roughly 250 Venezuelan nationals deported from the U.S. According to Salvadorian President Bukele, the U.S. citizens are expected to stop in El Salvador before returning home. In a post on X, Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirming the exchange, saying, quote, thanks to the President Trump's leadership, 10 Americans who were detained in Venezuela are on their way home to freedom. The Trump administration deported the Venezuelan nationals back in March and sent them to a maximum security prison in El Salvador. They were accused of being involved in the Tren de Aragua gang, which is designated by the White House as a foreign terrorist organization. And we're following news from Southern California, where a deadly explosion at a sheriff's training facility claimed the lives of 3 deputies. Christina Corona has the latest from East Los Angeles.
We're down the street from the LASD training facility where 3 sheriff deputies are dead and another person is hospitalized after an apparent explosion that occurred around 7:30 this morning. Now, this facility houses the department's special enforcement and arson units.
Tragically, there were 3 sworn members who were fatally killed that were assigned to our arson explosives detail.
An undetonated ordnance exploded at the Biscayne Regional Training Center located at 1060 Northeastern Avenue.
Currently, our homicide detectives are on scene and they are investigating the deaths that are we are being assisted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who are investigating the post-blast portion of this incident.
Sheriff Luna also thanked the LAPD bomb squad and Chief Jim McDonnell, saying they responded immediately after the explosion to render the devices safe.
At this time, we do not know the cause of the explosion. However, the specific area has been closed off due to the ongoing investigation.
The sheriff added the identities of the deputies have not been released, but their deaths mark the deadliest day for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department since 1857.
Between all three sworn members, they had served our community proudly for 74 years, and that's amongst all three of them collectively. 19 years, 22 years, and 33 years.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said on X that she spoke with Sheriff Luna and U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley, confirming the FBI and ATF are helping with the investigation. Mayor Karen Bass also took to X, saying the thoughts of all Angelenos are with all of those impacted by this blast. Authorities state that there's no immediate threat to the public. This remains a developing story, and the investigation is ongoing. Reporting from the city of Monterey Park, Christina Corona, NTD News.
Now that Congress voted to claw back $9 billion in federal funding, will President Trump ask Congress to rescind more spending from the budget? What sectors could be targeted next for waste, fraud, and abuse? To dive in, we're joined by Congressman Buddy Carter. Congressman Buddy Carter, thank you so much for joining us here today.
No, thank you for having me.
Now, the Senate has just passed the $9 billion in federal funding cuts. This is a rare move, but is it more of a symbolic win here, given that it only reduces 0.1% of the federal budget?
Well, 0.1% is important. You could say it's symbolic, but I think what it represents is two things. First of all, the work of DOGE, of the Department of Government Efficiency, and they have identified waste, fraud, and abuse. And then, most importantly, I think, is that we in Congress have codified this. We have actually acted upon it, and that's important as well. You know, identifying it and acting upon it are two different things. But when we are able to go back and act upon it, then I think that is very symbolic.
Yeah, we had the rescissions package and also the reconciliation package just passed recently. But for the rescissions, are there more on the way, you think? What do you think President Trump, if at all, will ask Congress to rescind next?
Well, I do think there will be more on the way. I think this is only the beginning, and certainly we all understand we need to do that. There's too much waste, fraud, and abuse in our bloated bureaucracy, and we all understand that. So, yeah, this is the first, and what I suspect will be many rescission packages.
And so what are some key areas do you think that would need to be rescinded that President Trump would have in mind and that Congress would be supportive of, at least the Republicans on Congress?
Well, I think if you look at some of the policies of the previous administration, and you see the clean energy, which, you know, clean energy is important, but also I think on the Republican side that we feel like there needs to be competition, and we feel like there, that certain areas should be able to stand on their own and not necessarily have to have subsidies in order to succeed. So those type of things, and of course, again, the work of DOGE and identifying waste, fraud, and abuse, that's going to be very important.
And so these cuts that we just saw, the $9 billion, they're coming from NPR, PBS, some of it, but some have raised concerns that the cuts to the public broadcasting could force rural stations out of business. Should we be worried about the broader consequence of these spending cuts?
I don't think so. I don't think that you're going to see rural stations go out of business. I think that, the percentage of the federal funding for the public radio is very small. So it's not going to make a big difference, I would think, in their operating budget. So, that's something I think is more fear-mongering and more being blown out of proportion by the other side.
And Democrats in Congress, after this bill passed, have threatened to boycott the appropriations bills coming up. Is this something that you expect to see?
Well, nothing surprises me, and particularly in Congress. So, it wouldn't surprise me to see it, but I think it would be an unwise move on their part. And in the sense that we all know that appropriations are an important process that needs to have full participation.
And now, this week, President Trump signed the Halt Fentanyl Act into law. What does this bill actually do?
Well, what it does is to permanently schedule fentanyl as a Schedule I drug, and that's important because along with being a Schedule I drug, it carries certain penalties that are important to decrease the abuse of fentanyl and the spread of fentanyl, which is poisoning our citizens. At one point it was killing over 200 people a day, and it's the leading cause of death for adults between 15 to 48. What we're experiencing is a fentanyl poisoning epidemic, and this Halt Fentanyl Act will address that and help to stop this scourge that is on our society.
Yeah, someone explained it once as 747 crashing every single day of people, even more so than that, and killing them. So with this bill passing, how directly would it seek to serve Trump's agenda and also Americans?
Well, President Trump wants to make America safe. He wants to make America healthy. And certainly by stopping the flow of illegal fentanyl into our country, he's helping to make our country safer, and he's helping to make our country healthier. All of those things are part of the America First policy, and I applaud President Trump. I was at the White House when he signed this bill into law. He was very excited to do it. We had probably 30 family members holding pictures of their loved ones who they had lost as a result of fentanyl poisoning. Very touching ceremony, and the president just showed tremendous empathy toward everyone there, and he understands how important this is to the health of our country and to the safety of our country.
Congressman Buddy Carter, thank you very much for your insights here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Special Olympics Team USA got to visit the White House today. Take a look at these photos. First Lady Melania Trump posted these pictures of their visit on X today. She wrote, quote, "Their strength, spirit, and valuable contributions to the history of American greatness continues to inspire us all." Well, it sure does.